Still good. Still good.
Wow.
I love it.
I like the intro.
Man,
I like the
oh,
It is
intro.
still with a run. Stop that. I want to stop. What you doing?
What is it? Oh, you got it on repeat?
Hold on. Yeah. And this.
It had a problem processing, didn't it?
Yes, sir. It's showtime, baby. I don't know who's Rosemary Howard. We appreciate you showing up already.
What's happening, good folks, man? Welcome to another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast. It is your boy, the Guru. And I'm sitting here with my boys, Quinn. I always point wrong. Quinn, Kevin. And our guest tonight, my man, Paris Tyus. He's up in the building. We're talking about getting it out the mud. Before we get into any of that, though, I want to welcome all of
I
my
got family up in here. Noel. Yo, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, but Noel, this is big time, yo. And of course, Jen, my wife.
How you doing?
Hey, baby.
Noel, Jen's in here. Hey, y'all, what's going on? So if you're in here, make sure you shut the broadcast out, man. We're going to go ahead and get this thing going and popping. Before we get into all of that, I want to give my regular shout outs to E. Digger and the CEO of WLEO. We are streaming live on the radio app. So if you have the app, download it. Make sure you go right to the station and you'll be able to check us out live if you don't want to watch the video and if you're on the move and all that. You guys can go to the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast.com and check out any you can check out any of the past broadcasts. This current one you'll be able to watch it here because it will be available for listening pleasure on your podcasting platforms directly after the show. All right, so today's episode we got Kev. Kev is going to be hosting today because the guest of the hour is one of his homeboys. So we're going to get to it. You know what I mean? So Kev, you want to take the floor, man? Do you think?
Yes. Man, look, if y'all I've been excited for this since he agreed 2 weeks ago to be on our show. If y'all thought we had a great show last time, man, this is gonna be as equal or even better. Powerful show. We have Victoria, who he's that's just family. Victoria's family, and just like Paris has become part of the family.
Yeah.
And he does really good things as an entrepreneur. He's like what I want to call a Swiss Army knife. He's got a coach's mind like I do. He helps my best friend. Hey Lee. But he does so many things, man, and he's such a great dude. When he just like Victoria, when he and she talk, you gotta listen. You want to listen. So without further ado, I get my boy Paris Tyus. We up in here, baby.
I'm not worthy, man. I'm not worthy.
There we go. There's the clap.
Yes, sir.
I had to find it.
Look at the sweating. Look. You know what I'm saying? I was rushing to get here, making sure, I was on time. I'm not good at that sometimes. So,
man, we appreciate you just taking the time just to be up in here with us, man. And the topic of today, of course, is get it out the mud. We all got a background. We all got a story to tell.
Absolutely.
And y'all know I didn't have the easiest life. Neither did Quinn and Terry and E. We've always given small little examples, but today I want to kind of put our story out there. Like me, everybody's got different definitions. Like Hugh did say earlier, so I did hear him earlier. Different definitions of getting it out the mud. But we, like I said, we all got a different story, different background. Terry, what is your definition of getting it out the mud?
I'm gonna be honest with you in this broadcast, brother, because I'm trying to match. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Paris, man, because his voice is just almost deep as mine. So I want to shout that out first. Yeah,
I said almost as deep, bro.
I think he got me though.
He got you.
Hey, Kev,
I only sound this way because
we need to lower our voices a little bit more.
I need a chop and screw version of my voice.
There you go.
I think we can start talking like this.
But I'm gonna be honest real quick, and the reason why I'm gonna be honest. When I used to hear the statement "get it out the mud," I struggle with it because I'm like, what does that really mean to get out the mud? But I'm gonna assume that it means making it out of whatever situation that you were into.
Uh-huh.
And so my getting out the mud definition is perseverance. That's how I did it, right? Even when I persevered, I still made a bunch of mistakes, but I guess we all have to go through that, right? We all have to make those mistakes. But, you know, coming out of high school, I was a father at 16. You know, being young and dumb, you know, and not knowing what life was about. I went to boot camp. I went to the Army, National Guard. So if anybody listening, don't do National Guard if you have to. Anyways, and so I really struggled. Mistakes promote growth. You're right, Rose. It does, but it took me 20 years to figure it all out, though.
It takes time.
It takes time. I get it, but 20 years though? No, I don't think nobody. No, I don't think so.
Oh no! I vouch for that. I'm with you on that.
My definition of it was when I was coming out, it was perseverance for me because I had to continue on despite how many mistakes that I made, despite what people said about me, despite of what people, how many folks that I hurt along the way. I still had to persevere through that too. So it was, perseverance for me. That was definition.
All right. And before we get to our host, so let me Q. What's your definition?
So my definition of getting out the mud is that you got to where you at with no help. I mean, no support system whatsoever. Like a lot of people say, man, I got it out the mud. Yet still, mom and dad or somebody was there to help you along the way. That's why I say my definition of getting it out the mud is that you did it all alone. You know what I'm saying? You went through the struggles, you went through the ups and downs all by yourself. Like, so that's my definition. Like, I can't say I got it out the mud because regardless of whatever I went through, if I couldn't lean on my family, I had friends I can lean on. So me saying I got it out the mud wouldn't be truthful in my definition of the term.
All right. So, and before I get to Paris, what if I told you just based on the phrase alone? All right, you literally got it out the mud. But I'm gonna go. Let's go with Paris. Paris, what's your definition, brother?
Man, my definition is like it's like jumping off the porch, you know, like you got it by any means necessary because the cards that you was dealt, you know, it was stacked against you from the jump. You know what I'm saying? Like it was things that was in place that you didn't even understand that existed, but you still fought through it and you came up out of it. You know, scraped, scarred, bruised, lumpy, whatever, but you came up out of it.
Word.
I like that.
Ooh,
you see what I say? You see what I'm saying? You see, like we dropping jewels already, man. Like, God, man. All right, so man, that was amazing. And I like the way you put it. And like going back to Q, and just like everybody else, my definition was before I found out what the definition of it was actually like like you said before, perseverance, and I took little things from here and there, perseverance. Um, uh, rising to the occasion, being clutch. Being clutch is huge for me. I'm very clutch. That's my thing.
Big time.
When I think about hardships and hard times, because I've hit rock bottom twice in my life. And like Q, I didn't have no help at the time when I hit rock bottom, and I feel great that I didn't have help because I crawled out of it all alone. And when that happened, it opened up brighter doors. It opened up a ton of doors for me. It opened up my mind. It made me mature. A ton of things, right? So the definition of getting it out when you get it out the mud is it means you come from the bottom of something and you rise to the top.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So you're successful when you're out. Started from the bottom. Now we're here. Is pretty much what it's saying.
Okay.
Drake Drake put it on a
Man.
level to where we were listening, but we weren't listening. Those that did catch the lyrics caught it. And to me, I didn't catch it, but now it makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean?
So the interpretation which I had was literally just my own interpretation because like I would listen to songs with people saying they got it out the mud and just listening to what they were saying is how I determined my interpretation
Mm-hmm.
of what the definition was. But there's
And
actual definition for it.
yeah, there's a definition for it. And a lot of the times when you hear lyrics now, like let's go with Kevin Gates for example. Get it out the mud, his song. You know, he has different ways of saying how he got it out the mud. Different ways, whether it was trapping, whether and he went from trapping to fame, or went from one woman, tons of women to uh, uh, a Muslim life, a Muslim lifestyle, and he's very faithful now, and well, so to speak.
Okay.
Um, so I mean, there's different levels to it, but there's an actual definition, and I don't even know if you want to go by the Ebonics book, but that's the phrase of it. And the one who actually put it out there was Lil Baby. Lil Baby was the one, and that's what made it catch my eye, and that's why I wanted our guest here, Paris, to join us on the crew today. Um, now, my next question, and and that's why I wanted to go with that question.
Hold on
Go ahead,
before you get into your question. Let me ask you this. Okay. Well, let me say this rather.
go for it.
When we talk about mud, getting it out the mud, right? How is mud made?
How is mud
From
made?
rain
How is
and
mud made?
Rain and dirt,
from
rain and dirt,
Rain,
rain
dirt,
and dirt.
rocks, whatever, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So when I hear get it out the mud, I think of everything in life as circumstantial, doubts,
yeah,
fears, dad not being there, all of that,
yeah,
mama not being there, all of that stuff, all that it combines and turns it into a muck. Now you got to fight through it. That's what. So it just dawned on me. I was just sitting there while you was talking about it. I was like, man, that's it right there, because we go through everything in life that tears us down. You know, I didn't have the greatest upbringing. My parents didn't have everything. You know, I found out at 17 that the man that raised me wasn't my father. I went
mm-hmm.
through that. I felt like my mama had lied to me. I went through a whole bunch of stuff. All of that nonsense turned into just a mud-like substance. And so we get it out of the mud by having to persevere through all of that mud-like substance. You feel what I'm saying? I just got
Yeah,
that
yeah,
in my spirit. You feel? Okay, go ahead to your question. I'm sorry.
hey, the way he was just moving is like he was practicing, like he was gonna be up in the pulpit today. Like he was like, and the way
You know
he
what I
was
came to.
moving, like he was go, like he
Not
wanted
really
his
niggas with y'all.
deacons,
he was
like he
feeling it,
wanted his
man.
deacons to
Saying,
stand up and just be
Right.
like, "Preach on, Pastor, preach on."
preach on.
Boy
You
got
go
the
ahead.
Holy Ghost for the moment. For a moment. So,
We'll go to your question.
but
I'm sorry.
so all right, and what we're here is to really help those that are either in the mud, those that can help prevent from getting themselves in situations, whether it's gang related or having a hard lifestyle, whatever it is, because there's different examples, right? As we know. So, and that's what this podcast is for, is so we can help others. You know, that's what I dig. And Paris has a background that he literally helps people on different occasions, different terms. And so um next, what I want to do is maybe get an example from you guys. You know, we can go with Paris first since he's our guest. What's an example, or maybe some background of your life to where you started from the bottom and rose to the top, where you're at
Hmm.
now, where you're successful?
You gotta run them all
Man,
back first.
bro, like you got to have me think about that one because
Yeah.
I mean, I come from nothing. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
come from less than nothing, and I say that with the reflective mindset because I understand the system that put us in that predicament. And then I also understand the choices that were made by my predecessors, you know, and how their choices led to this, how their choices in the skeletons in their closet led to some of the issues and problems that we had to face in our time, you know. So that's the first way I'll answer that question. The second way is probably to say intestinal fortitude, man. That's the word I'm gonna use.
That's a good one.
Some people got it, some people don't. You know,
Yes, sir.
the people who got it don't see the mud as a way to hold them down. They see it as an obstacle that they got to move past. And some people see it as quicksand. And you know what quicksand do? You know, quicksand just break you down, right? So everybody go through quicksand, but we all know you can get out of quicksand if you learn how to get out of quicksand. You know what I'm saying? If you learn the tools and the techniques. So
hey, Victoria.
yeah, see, tenacity. So look, tenacity
Man.
to me is shout out to Victoria. Tenacity to me is doing it with a passion and a purpose that can't nobody take from you. It comes from inside. It's the fire that you light under your own ass, you know. And can't nobody put it out. You know what I'm saying? You can take from others, but you choose to pull that information or that energy into you. I see myself as that individual, not necessarily as an individual who takes from others, but as an individual who observes how other people were doing things. The greats, you know, Mahatma Gandhi and the what's the lady from Israel? I forgot her name. She died, but Mother Teresa.
Mother
You know,
Teresa. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the people of these people were of great service. Martin Luther King, um, and you know I can go on for forever because you know I love some gangsters too who went hard.
Yeah.
Bumpy Johnson, for example, he my idol. He my role model. Shout out to Bumpy.
Iceberg Slim.
So
But
what?
you know, like I take from these people the things that they did that made them what they were, you know,
So
that
give us an
made people.
example. Give us an example from like how where like you said you came from nothing. Like what's a background that you're willing to share with these youngsters and
Man,
to where you are,
I've been
because like I
homeless.
said, like I introduced you, and like I said, you being an entrepreneur is just one of your hats that you wear.
Yeah,
um you work with Victoria, and shout out to Victoria again. You know, that's our ace right there, yo.
He
She's
still looks 12 to me. Sorry.
we not
I had to
gonna
say
do
that.
it. Hey, when you see her height though, she's short like a 12-year-old,
I hope
yo.
she's still listening too.
She listening. She gonna kill me later though. But I'm gonna hide behind you, Paris, because Paris is he you know Debo style. So I'm gonna hide behind you for a little bit.
I love Victoria. She's awesome.
But yeah, I love me some Victoria though. But like, give us an example, like where like you know, like you said, you started from nowhere, right? And you're one of your hats is being an entrepreneur. You are very you help people. You wear a coach's hat. Um, give us an example of how hard it was for you in your life back then.
Man, without divulging too much information, let's just say I grew up in a family uh, that was torn apart by drugs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, not necessarily someone who is the producer, but someone who's the consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how that tore us apart. You know, my brothers and sisters and our family, we were separated. You know, we didn't grow up like a traditional family where your brothers and sisters are all in one house all the time and all of that. We were all separated, different people, whoever could take one of us or two of us or whatever.
Right.
That alone is is a crazy way to come up, an
It
abnormal way,
is.
so to speak.
That's tough. That's man. I gotta. That I can't even imagine, man. That's
Yeah.
very tough, yo. Like
Yeah,
that's a tough lifestyle to even start off. I was fortunate. I didn't. My dad wasn't part of my life, but I was fortunate enough to actually have my brother help my mom raise me,
Mm-hmm.
and thankful for him. He put me in the game of baseball, and I was raised on baseball. I was raised on the Braves and watching them and taking what I learned on the baseball field and flipping it
yeah,
and turning it into an actual lifestyle that I can actually grow from. Uh, so that man, that's tough, man. Q, what you got, man?
Uh, basically, if we just me surviving, man. You know, I ain't gonna go back into it because everybody that's watched this show have seen, have heard me describe, my struggle. But just actually, when we were younger, we used to always hear about black men not making it past the age of 25,
Yeah.
mm,
especially coming from a lot of our situations. Um, and when I made it out of that situation, then another boomerang got well. No, I'm not gonna say another boomerang, cause let's just say another knife was thrown at me that put my life on the line.
Hmm.
And just to make it through that process, it's just that I didn't give up at all the times I wanted to quit and just give up and just was like, I'm tired of fighting.
Yeah.
I had to keep fighting because of people in my life that were telling me that I'm not supposed to leave this world before them. I'm not, do I know? Because at one point in my life, I felt like, if I died, ain't nobody gonna care about my mama, maybe my grandma, my aunties, my immediate family. Ain't
Hmm.
nobody gonna care. But I had to realize that I do have an impact on people's lives, even though I don't feel it. But that me not being here would be more detrimental than me being here. So just being able to live and being able to tell my story and being able to tell people, how I, overcame depression, how I overcame suicidal thoughts
Yep.
and things like that
big
because it
time.
was just, when you hooked up to a bunch of machines with tubes down your throat, you looking at it like, man, y'all go ahead and pull the plug. This can't
Yeah.
be life.
Yeah.
So, or when you sitting up there struggling and you got a pill box full of medicine and you looking at it like, I can go ahead and put all my pain, end it all right now.
Hmm.
Especially when you're dealing with emotional, physical pain all at the same time that can eat
Just
you up in
drains
the
you.
inside.
It
Yeah,
drains you.
and
It
it's
drains you
just like,
physically, emotionally, and I'm not gonna lie. There's times that I had to reach out to you because I can actually see it. You being my boy, I know your peaks. I know when you're up. I know when you're down. And I could tell even through a simple text, simple message. Just like Terry, I could tell when he's up and he's down. And I'll reach out to him. Hey, you good? you know. And I did it, for Q. I do it, and I'm pretty good at reading these signs.
I
And
mean, like,
that was very high. When you I got that sensibility when you told. I'll never forget when we linked up in Mississippi. I felt like we both needed it actually at the time because at the time when you I think you had just got your car and you rode through my brother's house and we linked up and I felt like man we I was reading it like yeah we needed the vibe just hanging out with each other because that was something the mental state both of our mental state wasn't real healthy back then
yeah, I
so
know, like, I felt like I had become the master of disguise. Like, I would walk around smiling, laughing, doing everything, whole while I'm feeling like I'm dying inside.
Yeah.
Like,
We all
you
been like
know,
that though.
Let me
yeah,
throw a question out there because I didn't get my example. I'm gonna jump in here, and I don't mean to cut anybody off. Check this out. My example is this: when I found out at 17, no 16, 17, that that the guy that raised me wasn't my dad. That was a struggle, and it's still to this day at 46, it's still a struggle. My mom left me in 07, and she left this earth without me knowing who my real dad is. That's a struggle. All right.
Yeah.
So here's my question to the panel. Okay. Why are men so afraid? Okay, afraid is a bad word. Why are we so I ain't gonna talk about it because it's not gonna solve anything. And we've all done it at one place or another.
We were taught that at one point. Well,
Yeah.
I at least in my being in Mississippi, I see a difference from being in Mississippi and Texas. A little bit. There's more open-minded people here in Texas than it is in Mississippi, and it sounds bad. But I don't, and I'm not coming from a bad state of mind when I say people in Mississippi are closed-minded. But when I was in Mississippi, it was eat your words, toughen up. You fall down, stop crying. You ain't got nothing to cry about. You want me to give you something
I
to
don't
cry
think
about?
that's just a Mississippi thing. I think that's
It,
just a black male thing.
That's a black
Yup.
male thing. Exactly.
well,
Exactly.
we can say that
That's
too
that's
because
that's that's not a
yeah,
Mississippi thing because I've run across people from all over the country that has had that same upbringing. So I'm not gonna say that's just I'm not gonna put that on Mississippi.
Yeah.
well, yeah,
That's a that's
we can. I mean, you can go that way too because it's just an old way of thinking. Because let's say if we take it back to our ancestors when it was well, let's take it back to the ancestors. And I've seen it in movies. I've seen it in books. I read it in books too. And we can't, like you said, we can't really say it is Mississippi. You're exactly right. And that actually opened my mind to something because if we look back at our ancestors and we look and see, hey, back when we had back when there were slaves and they would be like, you need to toughen up. We don't want them to see our what's what I'm looking for. We don't want them to see us crying and emotional. We want to see
Weak.
them we weak. There you go. Thank you. We don't want them to
Like
see the weak side of us. We want them to see
we
us strong, even though we're slaves in this industry.
yeah.
We don't want
we
them to see
talked
our
That's
weak
about
side.
this though.
masculinity though.
We talked about this on the previous show though.
We did.
We did.
So
We did.
yeah,
But
so
the audience changes every week though. So it does we could
yeah,
talk about it 2 weeks from now and still be relevant
Yeah.
a
because
new
somebody
topic.
who didn't watch 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago can catch it.
But the thing is, like the thing, like we're because remember my example was that especially dealing with women, they want us to open up more, but then once we
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
start opening up more and show that vulnerable side, they look at us like we're weak.
Right.
So we have to always portray ourselves as being strong, and we always have to like even getting back to the topic of getting it out the mud.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is you can't show weakness because once you show weakness when you're going through that process, you put a target on your back as someone that can be distracted or knocked off your pedestals, not you can detract them from their goal.
Okay.
So and with it, especially in our community with that crab in a barrel mentality that I pray that we're starting to get away from more that we have to keep focus
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
but within showing vulnerability when you show that vulnerability make sure you always have your shield up because once the enemy just like in war once the enemy spots a weakness they're going to expose that weakness and it's up to you to use your weakness as a strength to protect yourself from being to protect yourself from not achieving your goal.
Okay. So here's my question. How do we somebody who has just come out of the mud, somebody who just figured it out and said, okay, I have overcome this, who is new to the game. They can't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. They just got out of something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we can't we can't ask them to, okay, don't show vulnerability, but then keep your
No,
shield
you
up.
just gonna have some.
So
you
that's
gonna have
where,
some vault lessons.
but see,
You
and
gotta
that's
hit
where
your
people
head.
like Paris comes in and Victoria comes in,
Yeah,
who
you
are
gotta have those
teachers and
mentors.
mentors that can do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you gotta
definitely.
have those mentors, but as a former mentor, you gotta let people bump their heads because a hot stove, you're not gonna learn not to touch a hot stove unless you touch that hot stove.
Yeah, it's true. I
Some
get you.
people do learn from example, yeah, but you know, and like,
You can shield somebody all you want to, but sometimes somebody gonna want to step around that shield and they just gotta see it for themselves.
that's what
Yeah,
we call hard heads.
I got you.
That's what
All
It
we
right.
ain't
call
being
hard heads.
hard headed. It ain't being hard headed because as children that had parents, which everybody on earth has had a parent, somebody tell
Mhm.
you don't do this,
Yeah,
don't do that. It is just our nature. That's just human nature and curiosity to
right.
step out of that, that protection, and we gotta
Yeah,
see
but
it for
Yeah.
ourselves.
that's that. But
All
see,
right,
that's what
real
I'm saying.
quick.
That's that hard head, make a soft ass.
Okay.
Man, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
So so
Okay. Hold tight
so
before we do anything. Hold tight. Hold tight. Hold tight. I got to run a
okay.
Okay.
commercial because we on the radio. Got to pay those bills. Be right back.
That's right. Tune in to WLEO 26.7 online radio for all the newest music, hip hop and R&B from the 80s, 90s and 2000s. Jazz and gospel, as well as new shows and local and national DJs on the ones and twos, getting you ready for the work week ahead. That party vibe or relaxing at home, all on Baltimore's newest online radio station, WLEO 26.7 online radio. Worldwide listening entertainment online.
All right, you guys, and we are back. This is the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast, man. This is your boy, the Guru, and I'm with my man, Quinn and Kev the Great. And also with our special guest today, Mr. Paris Tyus is in the building. We're talking about getting out the mud, going a little back, talking about our past a little bit and how we made it through. All right. So, Mr. Paris, you're going to make a point right before we went to break. What was you going to say?
So the point that I was gonna make was the first thing about getting it out the mud is survival, the ability to survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, yes.
When you're trying to survive, your priorities shift. It shift from I ain't worried about vulnerability right now. I am worried about vulnerability. I'm worried about making sure I'm not vulnerable. So
Right.
I'm gonna have to be tough. I'm gonna have to take what they saying and just keep on going. If I get hit in the chest, I'm gonna have to just breathe and walk it off.
Right.
It's one of them kind of situations. And then once you get to a point where you can get a little bit comfortable, then you'll go back and start to see some of those things that that you left on the table that you need to address. Sort of the tumultuous times or the traumatic situations that you have been
Yes.
through. They start to surface and show their ugly head. And then you
Yeah.
got to go back and say, man, why did this happen? Well, why didn't I deal with this before? Well, I was just trying to survive before. So now I'm addressing
Right.
it.
Now you got to address it.
Definitely.
That's
Yeah.
why
And
more and more people, of color who are in their late 30s and early 40s, usually dealing with a lot of mental health issues. I'm sure
Yeah.
y'all spoke about
exactly.
that in the last episode with Victoria. So a lot of people question that too. Why is all of this stuff resurfacing now? Why didn't it surface then? Well, you was going hard. You
Right.
was pushing. You was trying to get to a point of being comfortable. You didn't know that once you got comfortable, all this stuff was gonna start rearing its ugly head. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the thing that
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
think
stuff
we
do
see.
come back
because
to punch in the mouth,
It
and when
does.
it
It
does,
does.
it tends to, it's like getting stabbed, and the knife starts to turn, and you figure
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna survive that. There's been a few times that I myself felt like, oh, how am I gonna get out of
so
this? Like I
I'm gonna throw
feel,
this example out there for what we're trying to say. If you ever had a surgery where you've been cut open,
mm,
when you come down off that high of morphine and that pain kick in, that's
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's a good
exactly what
analogy
it
right there. I
kicks.
like that. Go
That's
ahead.
this because I'm gonna tell y'all something. I broke my hip, like shattered my hip, avascular necrosis. Had to have my hip replaced. Doped up. When that morphine wore off, and I finally rose up and came off that high, I looked
Mm-hmm.
at my mom, and for the first time, my mom heard me just really start cursing. Like she had heard me cursing, talking with friends, but at her
Yeah. Yeah.
is how I
Mm.
was cursing because of the pain. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how that feels when you have unresolved issues
Mm.
Yep.
that you
Preach,
suppress
boy.
because you have your
Preach,
issues,
preacher.
you have your goal in front of you. You
Yeah.
have
Right.
tunnel vision, so nothing
Yep.
else matters. But once you reach that goal, unless you put something else in front of you to block everything out and put your tunnel vision back on, once you start resting and getting comfortable, that's when all those unresolved issues that you suppressed
Yeah.
come back floating in because your
Skeleton.
mind free now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And, oh, I'm
and
sorry.
go ahead,
Oh, I
because
was
I
going
got
to say
something.
this. Um, you know, I like Quinn's point about keeping focus and having on blinders and everything. I just want everybody to know that's listening and watching that Amazon has a sale on those little blinders that the horses wear, the Clydesdales. You know, they put and so and if you have a problem with focus, go on Amazon and going on. I can't even talk today. Going over there on Amazon and get you a couple of those blinders. You know, with the Clydes they'll be wearing. So get where you won't lose your focus. Secondly, I forgot my second point, but it's okay.
I'm not gonna do this today, Satan. I just came
But
back
you
from
know,
church.
no. I mean, I get the struggle, man. You know, oh, I know I was gonna think. Well, I was gonna talk about the one problem that men have, black men have, and I'll just say black men because I don't know about white people. You know what I'm saying? I ain't white, so I don't know. But the one thing black people have is that we will touch something more than once. If we
Yeah.
run up on an issue, and instead of handling the issue, I think I don't know if it was Paris that said it or if it was Quinn that said it, how we just let stuff go. We run through an issue, and then instead of really handling the issue, we just put it up under the rug,
And then
and we
we'll
figure, well,
revisit it later.
we'll deal with it later,
Hmm.
right? So we have to go
Yep.
back and touch that same issue again because we won't deal with it.
Instead of
It's
resolving it right
incomplete. It's
there.
Right.
incomplete. And
So
then we have that sense of feeling that we got to go back. Oh shoot! Well,
go back
here
and
we
touch it
go.
again. Like why?
You
Melissa gets on
know.
the kids all the time. Melissa, my wife gets on the kids all the time because she'll ask them to clean up, and instead of like they'll move a pile from one space to another space, and so the kids have to go back and move the pile again. And she always says, "Why are you touching it twice? Just do it
If
the
you
first time." And so
Yeah.
when you run
Why
up
is
on
that
that
so
issue,
hard?
yeah, you run up on that issue, make sure that when you touch it, you touch it and finish it.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't want is to see it again. Like I don't want
Right.
to see the fact that I had an addiction to pornography. I don't want to see it no more. I don't want to see the fact that I had to grow up without knowing who my real dad was. I don't want to see that again. Let me deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And we don't because we don't want to deal with it because all we want to do is to get to the next point in life without really dealing with our stuff. And what I say all the time is there's a lot of people walking around here like the bag lady. Erica Badu
Hmm.
had a great song about that. Remember that
Man,
song?
for real.
Bag lady. You gonna miss your bus.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep. Hey,
You know what I'm saying?
that
Because we're
hit.
walking around here carrying.
Yeah, we are. We are.
like, but
So
that's the thing about trauma because especially let's just put it this way, especially emotional trauma. When because especially with us when we don't want to seem too vulnerable, but we also don't want to seem like in what I'm saying, excuse my French, but we don't want to seem like we bitching neither.
Right.
Ain't
yeah,
nothing
I
worse
mean,
than
but you also have in that same space, that same mind state, right? You do have some women that actually, they want you vulnerable, but they don't want you vulnerable.
they don't
And then
want
Right.
you to sound like they
then they'll,
talking
They
to
they'll
want
other
they'll
you.
turn
people
around
about
and they'll turn around and say, "Oh well, I don't need you. You look weak." You know what I mean? And
no.
I'm just
But the
glad I
thing
got my
is,
wife. My wife
I
knows I'm gonna be
disagree,
vulnerable.
man.
No,
Uh-oh.
if
It's a
you
rim.
if you sitting up
I like it. Go
there
ahead.
if you breaking it down and you're starting to get emotional talking about your issues, they don't want to seem like they're talking to another woman.
I mean,
I disagree.
I'm with you, Paris. Go ahead.
And I'm gonna say why. Now, I disagree in one way. Vulnerability in a man is strength,
I
if we
agree.
look at it that way.
Hmm.
Um,
If you
vulnerability in
relate
a
your
man is growth.
vulnerability to the right people, because if
That's
you
what I say. I
re-
agree. Some people can take advantage of your vulnerability, especially. I mean,
and
we talking
weaponize
about
it,
the opposite sex, women. Like, let's address that real quick. Somebody said it. If you want to be successful, if you want to be wealthy, the first thing you got to do is pick the right woman.
Yeah.
Right? You can't pick a woman that's going to take from you or take from y'all. You know, you got to pick a woman that's going to uplift y'all, that's going to help y'all, that's going to sit beside you as
Shout out to
as
my wife for that.
that chief, you know, the you know, and help you help y'all help each other, because she already know you're gonna do everything to help each other, right?
Mhm.
But there are people in this world, and these just people, period. There are people in this world that exist that will take advantage of you for their own personal gain. So you just
Mm-hmm.
got to know how to pick them. That's part of, you know, your decision making, your upbringing, your, you know, that's some stuff that come from, that's nurture in nature, right?
Right.
yeah.
Uh, but
The thing is, sometimes you get wrapped up and you miss all them signs of what this person really is.
so I
And when
agree.
they hit you from the blind side, that's what causes more trauma.
But how do you, if getting back to getting it out the mud, how do we teach our young men to avoid these pitfalls in life so they can learn to be vulnerable early, so they
See, I
can,
think Paris was reading my notes because that was a question I had. Go
man,
ahead though,
Yeah.
So
touch on it. Hit
in
it
my
I
though.
don't
mind,
know.
just speaking from my experience, if we teach our young men, it's so young men, because I put an S at the end of men. Y'all
Mm-hmm.
please forgive that countryness. If we if we teach
Sorry,
our
boss.
young
Yeah, yeah.
men, if we teach our young men that it's okay to relay your feelings, it's okay to say when something is not sitting right with you, when it's okay to say no, it's okay to say I'm going to do this and stay firm in what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
That
what you saying to me is that our generation has to break the cycle of what was given to us.
Mm-hmm.
right, because it
So
was
how do
do
we
as
do
I
that?
say, it was do as I say, not as I did.
Exactly.
So hold on. So what? And I think I know where Quinn going, and I
You
know
don't
what I know
talk
where
when
Paris
grown
going.
folks are talking.
That's what we grew
Yeah,
up in.
exactly.
We
Yeah.
did.
So,
So
but
when they telling you that this, and they don't give you the opportunity to relay your feelings, you still need to find a way to relay your feelings so that you're not harboring those feelings, and then that harboring those feelings eats you up and causes resentment.
right.
How do you
So
get to how do you get to that breakthrough?
all right. So it
We
starts
have
with
to
the
be the
We have a
mindset.
change
question.
that we
We have a
want to
question.
see. We
We
have
have
to
a
be
question
the
about
change
Victoria.
that
We
we
got a
want to
question.
see.
What did each of y'all think happened to you in your life that caused each of you to make that decision to fight that fight to get out of the mud? That's
I got
Victoria's
you.
question.
I got you. So, and this is gonna help answer that question that Paris is leaning towards too. So it starts with that mindset, right? So what happened in my life, right? That got me to fight when I was at one point. I was homeless at one point. I ain't have a space. I ain't have a pot to piss in at one point.
Right.
But I knew I had kids to live for. I had I was young. I had a life that I needed to live. I was still able to play baseball. There was many things that I still needed to do. I had goals. I had a purpose. In order to fulfill a purpose, you have to You have to put yourself in a state of mind that's like, I can't go out like this. And that was my mindset. I couldn't go out like no punk. My mama didn't raise no punk bitch. So at one point when I
Who
couldn't I
told you that?
couldn't
Who told you
I
it was a
couldn't
punk bitch?
that's just how I felt. But at one point I couldn't rely on family. I couldn't rely on nobody. I had to get it my damn self, you know.
Okay.
And to you gotta fight. You gotta find that. You gotta reach deep down inside of you. There, you have a soul for a purpose, you know. And you know, and going back to what, you know, I'm putting the two and two what Victoria and Paris is, you know, trying to get at. You know, you gotta. That's what it is. You gotta. It's that mind state. You know, we can't
Mhm.
be weak in the mind. We can't be weak in the head. You gotta find that. You know, if you have a purpose, you got to put something behind it to put that purpose in motion, to put them those goals in motion. You
Okay.
know, you got a family to live for. Well, what are you going to do to provide for your family? How, you know, how, what are you going to do to have your kids look at you and say, all right, my dad did this and this.
Okay.
That was what I wanted to fight for. I wanted to fight for my kids,
I
you
got you.
know.
Let me ask you that. Okay. So, okay. I want to get to Paris's question because Paris said, how do we teach the young men
Mm-hmm.
how to get it out the mud and how to get hit? And then Paris, maybe I'll correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. But me, how do we teach men how to get it out, get it from themselves? They have to first realize that it's okay that they're not okay. Okay, so
And it's
what we
okay to
can't
make
do,
mistakes too.
right? What we can't do is go from A to Z. You can't go from point A to point Z without getting to
I
go through some
agree.
steps. We can't. What we can't do is, oh, you got to have focus. You got to get this. No. And that's a part of the step. Those are steps. All right, that's probably the end game. That's what we want. We want the kid. We want these men to say, okay, I got it. I am at this place. I am delivered. I'm good. Whatever. But in order for us to get there, they have to first understand that it's not that it's okay to not be okay. The first thing you have to do is forgive themselves, despite whatever it is. You know, you have to show a level of grace to some people. We just can't say, "Oh, well, you made a mistake. Now you bitch made." No, that's not how this works. You know what I'm
This is
saying? We have to
different.
build them up by telling them it's okay to not be okay,
We
and
got to
that
understand
how they
also,
feel
we also have to understand, to go along with that, we also got to understand this is a different generation, y'all. This ain't
it
how we
is.
grew
I
up back
agree.
in the day. You know,
Yeah,
the decades change, so does the generation. You
right.
know, back then they had slaves. We don't have, well, and there's still some slave state of mind,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
don't say
it's
mindset. Yeah.
changed as we grow. This technology's changed, everything has changed. So now we got to figure in everything. There's a small factor here, a small factor there, and we all there's this one big bubble, but there's small factors around it to put it together.
Let me say this.
So
I
so
think technology. I think with today's generation, we have because I don't know how I know how old you guys are. You know, I'm the oldest guy here, probably, right? So my generation was way different than now. I think that
Mm-hmm.
we have made or cultivated a society for laziness,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
Convenience.
a lot of society this gen these days, and I appreciate all the kids, and but I wish they would understand that it's not given to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Everyone's sensitive
the
now too.
solution will not be
That's
given to you. People are not going to walk up to you and give you a satchel full of money. I said satchel. See how old I am? Well, they give you a case full of money. They're not going to give you a case full of money and say, here you go. They're not going to give you a job and say, here you go, because no, you have to. I think the society has breeded laziness. And a lot of our children a lot of our men, young ladies, they feel like, okay, well, just because I'm here, you're going to give it to me. Just because I'm here, the problems go away. It's not true. It doesn't happen. And that's what's wrong with this generation. And we struggle because the generation that's supposed to take care of that, us, half of us ain't straight. and
right,
and, and,
and
and it's hard for us. I know. I'm sorry. That's a bit. I'm sorry. I don't mean to step on nobody's
so
toes,
so
but some of us we ain't got it together like that. But we want
That's
to.
for
We
real.
definitely want to go walk out here and try to cultivate our children. It's like the blind leading the blind. That's
yeah.
a statement that's been around for years. It's the truest statement I've ever heard.
I
And
think that's the
so
perfect
so
answer to what Paris was trying to get at.
yeah,
You know,
I mean, I look
I
at it
tiptoed
differently
around it,
though.
but you hit it a little. I
I
think that's what he was looking for.
Yeah.
I
Go
look
ahead,
at it
Quinn.
kind of differently because I feel like I'm not I'm not fortunate to have children at the moment.
Mhm.
But if I do have children, I'm gonna make it okay for my children to tell me how they feel about something without fearing what the repercussions will be.
Hmm.
Right. Right.
Because we grew up not wanting to tell our parents how we felt about something
Right.
because we were afraid of what the repercussions would
Was
be.
going to be. Yeah.
Whether it was a parent, or uncle, or aunt, like if we didn't like something, we just had to grin through it and bear it.
Yeah.
Right. That
You
was
could
our
It
back
ain't
yeah.
then. Back
no,
then, you couldn't tell your parents you were gay. You couldn't tell your parents.
it's not
Uh,
even just that. If
no,
you
no,
don't
it's just
like,
an example.
but
But
what I'm saying
that's what I'm
is, if
saying.
you
That's
don't
that
like,
closed mindedness. If we can actually
We
get our
have to
kids
change it.
to, yeah, we
Yeah, I
got to
like that,
we
change that
have
Joe.
to,
Yeah.
mindset. You know, if we could change to being
you have
that
to open
open
up
minded
dialogue
parent,
at a,
lead
Yeah.
by
you have,
example, would be
There
okay
you
with
go.
our
Lead by
new
example.
generation.
you have
I
Change
to
the
think you
narrative.
you
not be
have to be
afraid to
one.
be open to be able to listen to what they're saying without already having an answer. Like
And
That's
this
right.
is what
Right, you
Victoria
have to
actually
have
touched
that
on that last
dialogue.
time too.
Yeah.
You have to
I
have
mean,
that dialogue with your children, and it needs, don't wait until they're 18, 19 years old. That starts when they're children,
Mm.
to
yes.
have an open dialogue. Now, you do still have to be a parent,
Yes.
but you
Oh, of
do
course.
have to set aside that time to just listen to what your child has going on and try to help them through and explain it, rather than just say, you do what I say.
Yeah. We got to get out of that, man. That's
Explain,
terrible.
yeah,
It's a
I think
terrible
there's moments
mindset.
when
It
you
explain.
was
have to do that,
Hold on,
and
hold
there's
on, hold
moments
on.
when you
Go ahead,
don't.
Paris.
Like I feel like sometimes you got to tell your kid, "Hey, do what the hell I tell you," and then there's
Yeah,
times where you come back after that and you say, "This is why I said
This is
that,"
why I said it.
because at the moment you wasn't going to be able to hear me and understand why I was telling you to do what I needed you to
Right.
do. But I'm
Right.
telling
right,
you now, this is why I did it. I
Yeah.
think what you're
right.
saying
Yep.
hits it on the head. It's us learning how to be better communicators for the
Right.
generations that come
Exactly.
after us.
Because
Right. We
even at
struggle.
this
So sometimes
moment,
because sometimes we give that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Because we give that, do as I say, and then walk off. And
I'm
Yeah.
never come back with an explanation as to why. We
Yes.
just
right.
give it, and that's it. And that's the reason why our generation is having those issues and trying to figure it out. Well, I ain't gonna say nothing because if I say something, this is what they're gonna do. You go back to what you guys said earlier about being afraid of the repercussions of saying something like that. So
Like I was a teacher. I was a middle school teacher, and I was crazy, right? Most of my kids would tell you, Coach
right,
Tyus was crazy. He was off his rocker.
right,
Uh, I'm talking about I have a kid come at me straight, tell me he want to fight, and I'll be like, all right, meet me outside. You know what I'm saying? I was that
yeah,
nuts. Now, was I gonna fight him? Not really. Unless the little fool put his hands on me, then I was gonna
then I
give
got to
him
work.
one for
Yeah,
the books.
so far,
Right? But I'm just saying I don't beat kids. What I am saying though is afterwards, what I did do is I would walk up to them and be like, hey, man, I was tripping. You know, I'm crazy, right? You know, look, let me explain to you why we got that far, and I shouldn't even have done that. I put the onus on me, you know, so they can understand that I'm gonna show vulnerability, so so you can see why it was important for me. When you went left, I had to go left too, and then we both got back straight. We both came back right, and we both back straight. You know,
That's
right,
very
so
important too, because you what you want to do is you want to be able to let them know. Like I said earlier, you want to let them know it's okay to make a mistake. And
yeah,
then
mhm,
what your example is letting me know is you as a person, you were like, all right, cool. This is a teaching moment.
right.
mhm,
And we
People,
as an adults right now, we don't have enough teaching moments around our kids, and I'm starting to see some, but we need to have more teaching moments like that to let them know, hey, it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. You saw my mistake, right? That was my mistake. Like he said,
mhm,
he's telling this kid, hey, that was a mistake of mine.
yeah,
It's okay to make a mistake.
it
When
is.
you
mhm.
ain't got to be perfect. A lot now, nowadays you got kids that think they got to be perfect
They don't
because
have to be perfect.
they don't want to show that vulnerable side. No, you don't
Yes,
have to be perfect.
yes,
That's right.
Lead by example. I'm telling you, if we can get those teaching moments, which is a part of leading by example, hey, these kids would be okay, man. They wouldn't have to go struggling getting through the mud, or going through certain hard occasions. It's gonna work for them. We gotta let
Yeah.
them know it's going to work. It's
Embrace those
going to
perfect
happen.
imperfections, you
Exactly.
know.
All right,
Exactly.
we're gonna do this because we are coming to the end of the show here. If Paris, you ain't doing nothing next week, man, we'd love to bring you back for part 2 of this. So I want to finish this conversation if you're not
Mm-hmm.
doing
That's
anything
what's up.
next week. But I want to get out of here. Before we get out of here, I want to say thank everybody who listened, who shared the broadcast out. If you threw an emoji, appreciate you for all of that. Listen to us on the radio app. We appreciate you. You can also pick this podcast up live on audio. It will be available within 10 minutes after we say adieu. And so you can pick it up on Apple, Android, wherever you listen to your podcast at if you missed the live audio version. I want to thank my co-host, Queen, for coming on. Kev, Paris, thank you for coming on. And before we go, though, I'm going to let Paris close us out. Paris, if you had, how can people reach you? First of all, secondly, what piece of advice do you want to close us out with before we go?
All right, so you can reach me at I don't know all of this social media stuff. Hold on, let me see. My social media, my Facebook is just my first name, and then my Instagram is PTEO. TEO is the name of my brand, the Enlightened Ones. And then yeah, I think I'm on Twitter too, but it's probably both my first name too. Man, I suck at the social media thing.
It's all right,
I'll
brother.
put them out there somewhere, man, so you know where they are. But in closing, man, I think the easiest way to help cats continue to find success, through their roadblocks and through these uncomfortable situations that we all deal with, it's just have hope. That's the first thing. Hope is big, man. Hope will get you up in the morning. And be consistent in your positive behaviors. If you're consistent in your negative behaviors, and guaranteed you're gonna get negative results,
All
and
day.
vice versa for the positives. You know what I'm saying? Wake up, get them extra 5 push-ups in or 6 or whatever, and then get up and do the things you need to do. Drink that water. Say your affirmations to yourself in the morning. Be consistent in your positive behaviors, because if you do that, you're gonna continue to grow those, and you'll be surprised what the results end up becoming.
Exactly. All right, you guys. Well, we're gonna head on out of here, and until next week, hopefully we can get part 2 of this. I would love to get
Hey,
part 2 of this because it's a lot to
I would
unpack.
love a part 2.
Yeah, we can get Paris back on here. We can do part 2. But until next
I'm
week,
with it,
man, you
man.
guys
Let me
have
know
a
what's
blessed
up.
one. That's what's up. You guys have a great weekend, a great week, and we'll see. Have a happy Labor Day too. That's tomorrow,
Thank
right?
y'all for having me, man. I really
For sure.
appreciate it.
Oh, for sure, man. We got to have you back. We got to finish this up, part 2.
All
All right, see you guys next week.
right.
I love my outro.
I think I like it more than you.
Thank you for listening to another episode